Hey guys, welcome to the other recent viewing video I mentioned in the last one. I had two movies that I had to watch tonight, or more likely I was going to lose the ability to watch them on Vudu. And the second movie was Divergent, and I'll get into that in just a second. But as I mentioned, I had approximately 20 hours left for both of those movies because I rented them or whatever on the same day a month ago. That's how awesome I am when it comes to watching stuff on like Vudu and Netflix and all that. It's why I barely mess with Netflix, and I can rent something on Vudu knowing I have 30 days to watch it, and then it's like the last day before I sit down to do it. I actually lost out on getting to see Edge of Tomorrow, wasted $5 or $6 worth of credit on Vudu on Edge of Tomorrow, and didn't even watch it because by the time it got down to the last day, the time was going to run out. It was going to end right in the middle of the movie if I tried to watch it. So hopefully that one comes to Netflix soon and I can catch it there. Anyway, Divergent is the movie that I watched, so I want to talk about it a little bit. First of all, I really enjoyed the movie. Second of all, I regret not having read the books. And I think maybe I've talked about this before. I'm not for sure. But anytime there's a book that then gets turned into a movie, I would say that the best way to approach the two things, if you are going to be a person who reads the book and watches the movie, is watch the movie first. And then if the movie is good, if you enjoyed it, more than likely you will love the book. The flip side, which is actually the way that I do it because it's kind of an anal retentive sort of thing, but I always read the book I try to always read the book first because it will be the superior version, and I want that experience first. And I can go into the movie not being all like super high expectations. Because that's what happens for most people. They read a book, whether it's something that they find on their own or it blows up and gets really big. Think things like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey and even I guess books like Hunger Games and the Divergent series. They were books that were popular, and that word of mouth and internet and social media and stuff probably inflated the awareness of those books, and people ran out there to read them, especially your teen readers and just young adult readers and whatnot. Even though all of those series kind of deal with maybe slightly more adult themes, it seems to be like they're still aimed at like your teenagers, high schoolers, and just barely beyond, like maybe early 20s college students. But those things get big, so everybody rushes to read the books, and then of course when the books get huge, you start getting the fantasy. Casting calls. Everybody's like, oh, I want to see a movie and I want this person to play that role and that person to do this one. And then eventually the movie studios are like, yeah, well, I want to make that movie because cha-ching, dollar signs, we can turn this into another cash cow, another franchise. It can be huge like Twilight and Hunger Games. Divergent was another book series that I think I heard about maybe 3 to 6 months before I heard about them making a movie for it. So that might have had something to do with the reason why I didn't read the books. I don't know. I also think I just kind of got lucky. I read all the Twilight books, kind of sort of halfway between when I was married, but then after I was divorced. But I still borrowed them from my wife/ex-wife. When it came to the Hunger Games, it was a friend of mine at work, someone who no longer works there, but she lent me at least a couple of the Hunger Games books before she left Walmart, and then I've been watching the movies. Well, I've watched the first Hunger Games movie, and I own the second one. I just haven't watched it yet. That's just me. Divergent. At some point, I figure I will read the books, but if I see the movies first this time around, I'm okay with that. I enjoyed this movie. It was cool. It was an interesting concept, although it reminded me a lot of stuff like the Hunger Games books, or the Hunger Games storyline, about sort of like a near future, but a different future, post-apocalyptic type thing, and what society as a whole has become after some, great war, some great skirmish in human history. And I'm sure that there's a lot of political nuances to the story. I mean, I'm really not great at dissecting and explaining those parts to movies' plots, but I can see it and understand that it's happening. I'm pretty sure that there was some commentary in there about, like so many movies do, especially when they do cover a near future, but like after some sort of an apocalypse, some sort of a world war scenario or something like that. They always have theming that has to do with that. But what I looked at in this movie was a lot more of what was kind of directed, I would say, at teens and young adults. And that is the themes like being different, not conforming to this quote-unquote normal society, being yourself, being an individual, being unique in your own way. I mean, there's several billion people on Earth. It's really practically impossible for anybody out there to be wholly individual and unique. But you know what I'm saying. And I feel like that's probably the driving theme in a movie like this, even in like the Hunger Games. It's about standing up for yourself, standing up for family, standing up for those you love, for those you believe in, for the ideals that you believe in. But it's also about not conforming to, what is expected of you, as opposed to what your true potential is. So I like that those themes are in place, although I wonder why there have to be so many movies where, younger people like that are facing not just incredible odds as far as personal challenges, but like literally life and death, and, being shot and killed, being forced into some set of games where, you're either going to be the lone survivor or you will be amongst the rest of the casualties or fatalities. I guess that's dramatic license or something. But anyway, in this movie, I enjoyed it. I have to say, I have a soft spot in my heart for Shailene Woodley. I just enjoy seeing her in movies. I recently watched The Fault in Our Stars, and I really enjoyed that movie a lot more than I expected to. And here's a mind blower. Divergent, as far as I know, came out before Fault in Our Stars and was probably filmed before it. In Divergent, I don't know if Divergent or Divergent, if it really makes any difference. I will probably pronounce it both ways, but I'm going to look at this. I'll look this up real quick. Film. So, Shailene Woodley plays the role of Triss or Beatrice, and it's this other casting part that caught my attention. Her brother that's her dad. Okay, yeah, Caleb. Her brother Caleb was played by this guy by the name of Ansel Elgort or Elgort. Hopefully I'm not butchering that up too much. But what is cool about Mr. Ansel here is that he was in The Fault in Our Stars as Augustus Waters, the love interest to the character in The Fault in Our Stars that was played by Shailene Woodley. So, brother and sister in one movie, girlfriend, boyfriend in the next movie. I did not know he was in this movie. I was not aware. Obviously they're brother and sister in this one, so he's not the love interest. It was a different guy altogether. But to see him in this movie was kind of cool. And just the thought that they, filmed another movie in the same year, two really big and popular movies with that same demographic, basically. I don't know. It was just kind of neat. It was it was a little bit of a shocker for me when I saw him on screen. But I don't, like I said, I don't usually like to try to break down the plot of a movie. But in this one, there was some sort of a war. Society kind of broke down, and the new, powers that be or whatever in this world, in this storyline, has sort of determined that at a certain point in time, everybody, all the younger people, have to choose which of these four facets of their society they will fit into. They can choose to stick with the faction that they're born into, or they can go to a different faction, depending on some testing and whatnot and what that says, but also just how they feel about it. And Beatrice, her family is a part of what was called, now I'm going to forget it, something like Edel Nation. Anyway, it was, I guess, sort of like the faction that helped people, the faction that gave out food to the factionless, and just was in general kind of the kind and thoughtful faction. And then they had Dauntless, which is the warriors, the police group that were there to protect the society, which is who Beatrice went away from her original faction to join that one. Her brother joins Erudite, which is like the cerebral faction, sort of like the thinkers, the ones that, or I think that's who that was. I don't know, I'm pretty sure that's who it was. But there are also a faction that wants to be the ruling faction, which is in the hands, at the beginning of the movie, it's in the hands of the Edel Nation, or whatever the faction that Beatrice's family and stuff originated from. And then there was Candor, and there was another one. Anyway, there's 5 of them, and they just all kind of serve their purpose. If I read the books, I could probably, read this stuff off like it was clockwork. But right now, it's just this one viewing I just had of the movie. So forgive me if I'm screwing a bunch of it up. But there's also this mystery quotient, and it's the Divergent. And what they are is a group of people who are pre-inclined to not follow just one faction's ideologies. Their minds are open to all of them. They believe that it's, perfectly normal to be both smart and protectors and kind and, all of the different things together. And for whatever reason or another, usually it's coming from some sort of a mind that puts themselves out as being good, but deep down inside they have their own agenda, and they don't want people who think for themselves in that way. They don't want people who do it all. So they want to control them. And if someone basically manifests themselves as divergent, they will be killed. They will be, followed and chased and hurt in every possible way. So, of course, our lead character in the movie is Divergent, and she has to hide that, but she uses her tools to figure out a greater conspiracy that's happening in that overthrow from the one faction to another. And that's kind of what the first book slash movie story was all about. Just kind of setting the groundworks for everything, giving you an idea of who Beatrice was and all the people that are around her. And like I said, I'm partial to Shailene Woodley, so it was just cool to see her in action again. But overall, I was just really intrigued by it, even though it may feel a little like it's cookie cutter. Like I said, Hunger Games has kids being selected to go into something, and there's these reasons for it, but it's a competition where they can end up dying in the end. And once again, I sort of feel like it was a way of controlling these people and not letting them be who they should be, not letting them be themselves, just in a different way. The Hunger Games series takes a different look at it, but both of them have these, near future post-apocalyptic kind of scenarios and a lot of control, especially from the ruling powers. And so I guess, as I kind of would like to do with a lot of these movie things, and I did it with The Other Woman, I recommend this movie for people. Well, obviously, in my humble opinion, if you like the Hunger Games, and even if you kind of like Twilight, you would probably really enjoy the Divergent series. But then again, if you liked any of that stuff, you've probably already read the books and seen the first movie, so there you go. Anyway, I enjoyed it a lot. I feel pretty good that, for the most part, all the movies I watched here lately have been pretty good. So, I can't complain about that. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I can't ramble any longer than this. It's getting late, and within the next few days, there'll be a new recent viewing video going up for a very interesting movie that flew under the radar for me. I didn't know what it was until it hit the shelves at Walmart. So I hope it's as good as it looks, and when I've seen it, I'll let you know. So thanks for watching.